Hello from the outside world. Now today we have with us the Verna facelift, and you have to give it to Hyundai for going the distance with this update. It's got revised styling on the outside, more features on the inside, there's a new petrol engine, there's a new diesel engine, and what we have with us today is an all-new addition to the range altogether. This very version is powered by a 1-litre turbo-petrol engine that comes mated to a 7-speed dual-clutch gearbox. Now the ingredients are surely interesting, so I think we need to see this car in a whole lot more detail. Before we go any further, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon for the latest from Autocar India. I'll start with what's new on the outside. While the basic size, balanced shape and swoopy silhouette are unchanged from before, the Verna for 2020 is immediately identifiable by its redone front end. The grille is now a few sizes larger, but I think it works really well here. Notably, this gloss black finish is exclusive to the turbo petrol version. Other versions get what Hyundai calls a dark chrome finish. The headlights have been redesigned too and have been upgraded to full LED units. The angular bumper is new as well. At the sides, it's the new 16-inch diamond cut wheels that give this away as the latest version of the Verna. What takes a bit away from the look is the substantial gap between the tires and wheel arches. That's because Hyundai has increased the ride height with this update. At the rear, the changes are limited to new bumpers and reprofiled tail lamps. Again, the turbo petrol stands out for its twin-tip muffler, but Hyundai, were those scales on the rear bumper really necessary? What do you think of the latest Verna's look? Let us know in the comments section below. Over to the inside. The new Verna's cabin is a development of what we've seen already. Now, exclusive to the turbo petrol variant is this all-black cabin theme, and it looks quite sporty. What adds that extra flavor to this car's interior are these red embellishments around the aircon vents, the contrast stitching on the seats, the gear lever, the steering. They really do their bit to add some flavor to the cabin. But on the negative side, the black also tends to draw your attention to the hard plastics that make up most of the cabin. There are some interesting new additions to the interior. You won't really have to hunt around for the big changes to the Verna's cabin. Paddle shifters are a new inclusion, but they are only exclusive to the turbo petrol variant. Then there is the move to digital dials. Now this arrangement is very new age BMW-like, so it will be polarizing. The setup comprises a clockwise speedometer and a counterclockwise tachometer that flank an MID display. Now, it's not the most intuitive or easy to read arrangements, but Hyundai has done well to include a digital readout for road speed and engine RPM. The third big change on the Verna's interior is this new 8-inch touchscreen that takes pride of place on the redone center console. Of course, it goes without saying that Hyundai has included its BlueLink connected tech this time around. The system includes remote start, remote climate control operation, real-time status and direct access to a call center among 45 functions. But before you ask, there's no Creta-like voice-activated sunroof feature. Also, there's no escaping that the connected text functionality is only as good as the embedded SIM's connectivity. The Verna Turbo is based on the top-spec SXO trim, and that means it's loaded with features. Aside from the LED headlights, digital dials, paddle shifters, connected tech and sunroof we've already touched upon, the Verna Turbo gets ventilated front seats which make a world of a difference on hot days. Wireless charging is included too, but the bay can't hold the largest of phones. Also, while a hands-free trunk release for the sizable 480-litre boot is handy, we found the system to be quite temperamental. The Verna Turbo's safety suite includes 6 airbags, ESC, hill start assist, a tire pressure monitoring system and disc brakes all around. Front parking sensors that are exclusive to the Turbo also make life that little bit easier. That's a lot about the front section of the Verna's cabin. How's it at the back? A Verna weakness that has been carried forward onto the latest version of the car is unfortunately the mediocre rear seat space. The front seat is set to my position. I'm just under 6 feet tall, and as you can tell, I don't have all that much legroom in the back. There are frankly compact sedans that offer more space than this. The seat itself is quite comfy. You do get nice features like a USB charger at the back and the retractable sunshade, which is a handy feature to have on a sunny day. But if it's space you're looking for, you can do better than a Verna. Before I start driving, let's quickly run through the updated Verna lineup. The range starts with the new 115 horsepower and 144 Newton meter 1.5 litre petrol engine that's available with a 6-speed manual or a CVT auto. Buyers with lots of running have the option of a new 115 horsepower and 250 Newton meter diesel that's available with a 6-speed manual or a 6-speed torque converter auto. But it's this Verna Turbo that's the one of most interest. It's powered by a 3-cylinder 1-litre turbocharged and direct injection petrol engine. As on the venue, the engine makes a healthy 120 horsepower and 172 Newton meters. A 7-speed dual-clutch transmission is the sole gearbox on offer with this engine on the Verna. And it all comes together really well. The Verna Turbo DCT makes for a pleasant and easygoing companion in town. Now, I've experienced this engine, the 120 horsepower 1-litre Hyundai motor, in the Venue manual, and I do know for a fact that the engine has a bit of a weak spot lower down in the rev band. But with this DCT, you don't get to any turbo lag. It's all very well covered up, it's all camouflaged, and what you get is a really nice and smooth experience. You get power as and when you want it, and press down a bit harder, and both engine and gearbox are quick to respond to give you just what you need. And it gets better. Dial things up a notch and things get really interesting. That's when you'll experience how turbos can make small engines do big things. The engine has plenty of go in the mid-range and the gearbox knows how to get the most out of it. Then when you shift the gear lever to sport mode, it really does what it says on the box, because the gearbox suddenly keeps the engine on the boil and you see a side of the Verna you never would have expected to. The engine becomes thrashy, it revs hard, and it's a very unusual experience in a Verna. Unusual in a really good way. It's fun revving the engine to 6,200 RPM, and the paddle shifters just up the experience further. You can take manual control via the gear lever, but the more fun way is to do it via the paddle shifters. They're quick to respond, the system grants you high RPM downshifts, and it really adds that extra level of involvement. But as smooth and fun as Hyundai's 7-speed DCT is, it's still not quite as slick or snappy as Volkswagen's DSG unit. Also, while we are yet to put the Verna Turbo through a full test, preliminary kickdown acceleration figures show it to be marginally slower than the erstwhile Volkswagen Vento TSI, the only other midsize sedan to have been sold with a turbo-petrol engine and dual-clutch gearbox combo. How that 19.2 kpl ARAI fuel economy figure translates to the real world is also something only more time with the car will reveal. Turbo petrols are very reactive to driving style, and hard driving can see the economy figure tumble dramatically. That's that about the engine and gearbox. What's the Verna Turbo like in the corners? The Hyundai Verna has never been the benchmark for handling, and unfortunately that's something that stays true even today. Yes, the Verna, launched in 2017, has been a huge improvement over its predecessors, and there is a maturity to the ride and handling balance. However, when you do drive it hard, you don't get that feeling of connect that you'd like from the steering, and when you do push the Verna Turbo into a corner, you'll be able to tell that this is a car crying out for grippier rubber. A more feelsome steering and tauter body control would have just elevated the Verna to a new level. So it's still not the ultimate driver's car, but as before, the Verna impresses in ride comfort. The tweaked suspension delivers a pliant ride at low speeds and stays absorbent the faster you go. So should you buy one? If you're a keen driver, the Verna Turbo should definitely be on your shortlist. Sure, it's not the most thrilling car around corners, but the zesty engine, dual clutch gearbox and paddle shifters do spice up everyday drives. Hyundai has also thrown in plenty of goodies to justify that 13.99 lakh rupee asking price. Rear seat space is limited, but for owner drivers looking for a fun and convenient daily driver, the Verna Turbo could just be it.